All right, so here we are on the fiscal screener, and I just want to run through and show you how I screen for good dividend stocks. And the way I think about this is I try and cast a wide net, and then I will narrow it down depending on how many companies I get. So you can see I've excluded China. Basically, I've included the US, Europe, and Australia, and I've put no criteria. These are results from an old screener that I ran, but I've deleted all the criteria. So let's start from the beginning and add some. And let's say that we're looking for higher yield companies. So I'm going to start with dividend yield as a criteria. And really what I'm looking for is 4%, but let's say 3.5. Oh boy, I can't type. Let's start with 3.5. Again, we're casting that wider net. The next thing I'm going to add is probably a payout ratio. All right, so ideally, I'd probably like 70 or lower, but I'm going to put 80 in here. Wide net. All right, next let's add a debt ratio. We don't want companies that are too heavily indebted. We want things that are going to survive for a long time. So sometimes I use debt to equity, but let's use an interest payment. And I think fiscal calls this EBIT to interest expense. Yeah, so this is basically interest coverage. All right, so if we do this ratio, it's how many times will your earnings before interest and taxes cover the interest expense. All right, so for a minimum, let's say I want a 3 times coverage ratio. We want some profitable growth, right? Even though we're looking for higher yield companies, we want companies that have grown revenue and earnings. So let's use revenue CAGR. And let's do a 5-year revenue CAGR. And let's say we want companies that have grown revenue at least 5%. And we'll do the same thing. EPS, 5 years, we want our earnings per share to have grown at least 5% as well. And then we can do a dividend per share CAGR. I forget how they label this. Yep, dividend per share, 5-year CAGR. So let's look for things that have grown that 5% as well. That's a reasonable starting place. Let's run this and see what we get. 90 companies. That's not bad. Let's see what we're getting here. So we're getting revenue. We've got 7, 10, 32%. Oh, that's beachy. We've got good interest coverage ratios. We've got reasonable dividend yields here. And we've got reasonable payout ratios. So we can start tightening these down even more. And you could even do something like, I might think about adding something like an ROIC metric. So let's do a 5-year ROIC average. Let's say we want companies that have invested and got at least 8% a year on return on invested capital. Down to 54. All right. So we can still tighten this up. Let's go ahead. Let's see if we can find companies that have grown their earnings per share a little faster and their dividends than their revenue. And let's reduce this payout ratio down to 75. And we'll see if we can get a little better balance sheet. I'm going to leave the dividend yield at 3.5. Let's see where we are now. 44. So that only knocked out 10 companies. And sometimes, we can look down through here and see, where are we? Do we have room on dividend per share yield? Yes, we've got good ROICs here. We've got good revenue growth here. We've got some companies that have really high interest coverage, and we've got some really attractive payout ratios, around 50 for a company that's got a dividend yield of 6.5%. Like that's pretty good. 4.2 at 24% payout ratio. Excellent. So we have room if we want to. We can tighten this up even further. Let's go ahead. We'll do 7%. Let's do earnings per share growing faster, and let's raise our revenue CAGRs. Let's get our EBIT to interest expense up. 28 companies. So this is how I go about it. I just keep tightening this net down until I get something reasonable. Now, I never target just like 5 companies. because chances are a lot of this stuff, we can rule out pretty quickly just based on, say, what you like to invest in or what you understand. Like, here's an airline, probably not going to look real hard at that one. Um, you know, Actually, that's not a hotel. I know Greg's. Media for Imprint Group. These guys do. I know these guys. They do like corporate stuff, like pens, that kind of thing. If you're interested in that, some people may want to invest in that. Some people may say, you know what, I don't know the future of that industry. I don't know how long people are going to want branded pens and coolies. So depending on your interests, what you like, you can rule things out. Metals and mining, usually I scrap those right away. Probably not going to invest in that kind of thing. But as you look through here, you'll find companies that you think are interesting and companies that you definitely don't. So like I said, I tend not to tighten these down to where I get 5 or 10 results, but I do try and get more companies that I want at the beginning. I do tend to open up my criteria to try and get more initially and then tighten it down to kind of get to the best of the best. Hopefully that was helpful. Thanks for watching. If you found it helpful, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and let me know in the comments, are there any screening metrics that you really like to use that you find get you really good results? Thanks for watching. See you next time.